Part 4.24 The Women in Nisa. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence. The superiority of the Mujahideen. A spiritual and ethical distinction. We continue our profound exploration of Surah An-Nisa, the women. Having discussed the sanctity of peace and the prohibitions on worldly greed, we now turn to a verse of immense spiritual and ethical significance. This verse number 95 establishes a profound distinction between those believers who actively struggle in the way of Allah with their wealth and their selves and those who remain behind. It is a divine declaration that elevates the station of those who sacrifice for the faith, granting them a spiritual superiority and a reward that is far greater than that of those who are stationary. This is not merely a legal or military distinction. It is a spiritual teaching that reveals the immense value of active, selfless striving and the rewards that Allah has reserved for those who give their all for His cause. The verse challenges the believer to reflect on their own level of commitment and to aspire to the highest ranks of spiritual distinction. It teaches us that faith is not a passive state, but an active, dynamic force that demands sacrifice and effort. Verse: Those believers who stay behind other than those who are disabled are not equal to those who struggle in the way of Allah with their wealth and their selves. Allah has given those who struggle with their wealth and their selves a rank above those who stay behind. And Allah has promised goodness to all, but Allah has given those who struggle a great reward over those who stay behind. Kanzul Iman, Quran, the women, 4-95. Context of revelation. This verse was revealed to address a crucial question within the early Muslim community: the relative status of those who participated in military expeditions for the sake of Allah versus those who remained behind due to various circumstances. A group of companions, may Allah be pleased with them, asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, about this matter. The verse provides a clear and definitive answer, distinguishing between those who remain behind out of a genuine, legitimate excuse, such as a physical disability or illness, and those who choose to stay behind out of laziness, fear, or a lack of motivation. The verse clarifies that the spiritual and physical efforts of the fighters are of a higher order and deserving of a greater reward. This context is essential as it shows the divine recognition of selfless sacrifice and the importance of active participation in the service of faith. It serves as a powerful encouragement for believers to step out of their comfort zones and to strive in the path of Allah, knowing that their efforts are not in vain and that they will be rewarded with a spiritual rank that is unparalleled. Explanation. This verse is a profound spiritual teaching that reveals the divine hierarchy of spiritual ranks. The phrase, "those believers who stay behind other than those who are disabled," are not equal to those who struggle in the way of Allah with their wealth and their selves, is the core of the verse's teaching. The divine exception for the disabled is a testament to the perfect justice and mercy of Allah. It clarifies that a person's physical inability does not diminish their spiritual worth or their potential for reward. However, for those who are physically capable but choose to remain passive, the spiritual distinction is clear. The word struggle encompasses a wide range of efforts, from military expeditions to financial support and intellectual striving. The phrase "with their wealth and their selves" is a comprehensive spiritual teaching. It tells us that true striving requires the sacrifice of both material possessions and one's own comfort, time, and physical energy. This is a spiritual lesson that transcends the context of military conflict and applies to all forms of sincere effort in the way of Allah. The verse then states, Allah has given those who struggle with their wealth and their selves a rank above those who stay behind. This is a divine declaration of spiritual superiority. The rank mentioned is not a social or political title, but a station of immense spiritual honor in the sight of Allah. This spiritual rank is a direct result of their sincerity, their sacrifice, and their unwavering trust in Allah. The verse also provides a profound and merciful insight, and Allah has promised goodness to all. This phrase ensures that those who remain behind due to legitimate reasons, or those who serve the faith in other ways, are not without hope. It is a spiritual teaching that tells us that Allah's mercy is vast and that He rewards all sincere intentions. However, the verse concludes with a powerful reiteration of the initial distinction. But Allah has given those who struggle a great reward over those who stay behind. This final statement solidifies the spiritual hierarchy and emphasizes the immense value of active, selfless striving. It is a powerful encouragement for believers to aspire to the highest ranks and to give their all for the sake of Allah. Sufi perspective. From a Sufi perspective, this verse is a lesson in the spiritual reality of effort and sacrifice. The Sufi understands that the true struggle is the greater struggle against the ego. The physical struggle is a manifestation of this internal spiritual battle. Those who remain behind are not only physically passive, but their spiritual state is also stationary. The Sufi understands that true spiritual progress requires constant effort and a willingness to sacrifice one's comfort, desires, and attachments. The phrase struggle with their wealth and themselves is a perfect description of the Sufi path. It is a path that requires the giving of one's material possessions for charity and the constant effort to purify oneself from the diseases of the ego. The Sufi sees the worldly life as a place of trial and striving, and those who embrace this reality are the ones who are elevated in the sight of Allah. The distinction between the disabled and the passive is also a profound Sufi teaching. The Sufi knows that a person's spiritual rank is not determined by their physical abilities, but by the sincerity and effort of their heart. A person who is physically disabled but has a heart filled with the desire to strive in the way of Allah is of a higher rank than a healthy person who is passive and complacent. The verse's promise of goodness to all is a spiritual teaching that speaks to the vastness of Allah's mercy. For the Sufi, this means that every sincere intention, no matter how small, is rewarded. However, the greater reward is for those who are willing to completely surrender their will, their wealth, and their very selves to Allah. This is the ultimate spiritual struggle that leads to the highest stations of divine nearness. The Ziya-ul-Quran interpretation, the scholarly commentary in Ziya-ul-Quran by Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Al-Azhari sheds light on the immense spiritual significance of this verse, explains that this verse serves as a profound encouragement for the community of believers to actively participate in the propagation and defense of the faith. He notes that the verse provides a clear and uncompromising distinction between those who are active participants and those who are passive observers. Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Al-Azhari highlights the psychological wisdom of the verse, explaining that it perfectly captures the state of a person whose faith is active and whose allegiance is to Allah's cause, rather than to their own comfort. He argues that the verse introduces a humane and just system that honors sacrifice and commitment. The commentary posits that Allah, in His perfect wisdom, established a law so clear that it would force the community to recognize that the path to true spiritual wealth lies in active striving and sacrifice, not in complacency. Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Al-Azhari also emphasizes the comprehensive nature of the word struggle, which includes all forms of sincere effort, from military to social and intellectual. The commentary argues that we should not question the wisdom of Allah's commands, but accept them as an expression of His perfect knowledge and wisdom, which uncovers the hidden truths of the human heart. Hadith. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, "A believer who struggles in the way of Allah is like a person who fasts and stands in prayer, and does not desist from fasting and standing in prayer until he returns." Sahih al-Bukhari. This hadith beautifully illustrates the core spiritual principle of the verse. It provides a simple yet profound teaching that places the spiritual station of the struggler on par with the highest forms of worship. The hadith, in conjunction with the Quranic verse, affirms that true faith is an active state of being that combines spiritual reliance with worldly wisdom. This hadith underscores the divine order of justice, where the most fundamental right, the right to life, is the first to be addressed in the final reckoning. Another relevant hadith highlights the spiritual loss incurred by the one who does not strive. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, "Whoever dies without having fought for the sake of Allah, or having the desire to do so, dies upon a branch of hypocrisy." Sahih Muslim. This hadith adds a layer of spiritual depth to the Quranic verse. It teaches that the act of remaining passive is not just a neutral choice, but a spiritual one that can have grave consequences. It signifies a spiritual lack of commitment and a hidden disease of the heart. The hadith provides a clear and powerful teaching that a person who is not willing to strive for Allah's cause has, in a profound spiritual sense, left the protection and mercy of their own religion. This spiritual excommunication is the real punishment and all the others mentioned in the verse are its natural and inevitable consequences. And with this profound verse, our exploration of Allah's divine wisdom concludes for today. May this spiritual guidance illuminate our hearts and minds, filling them with the light of faith and understanding. And may Allah grant us the wisdom to live by the truths revealed in His sacred book, applying its teachings to every aspect of our lives. May He accept our sincere efforts and forgive our shortcomings, showering His blessings upon us, our families, and our communities. May He guide us on the straight path and grant us a noble end, and may His peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you all. May our hearts remain steadfast in His remembrance, and may our lives be a testament to His love and mercy. May we always strive to be among those who are active in His way, sacrificing our comfort for His pleasure. May our knowledge be a source of benefit for ourselves and for all of humanity. May Allah elevate our spiritual ranks and grant us a place in the highest of heavens. And may we be counted among His blessed servants forever in His grace.